Some Pokemon are dealt a very small hand to play with when it comes to Movepool. Very limited coverage, only enough moves to fill a set, and some even just one move. Today we're looking at Pokemon with the smallest usable Movepools, including all legal moves, so not just their level up movesets. These mons range from Little Cup to even Ubers, so it's not always the size of the Movepool, it's how you use it. One mon who has a small, but not too small amount of moves is Snom. This cold wormy boy only learns Powder Snow and Struggle Bug by level up, making its in-game use a little tough, but luckily gets access to a handful of TMs, the universal ones, and some good stab moves. This brings its 2 moves to 16, 19 counting Attract, Snore, and Round, which are Gen 8 TMs. This is rounded off with Fairy Wind and Mirror Coat, which can be bred onto this goober. It gives you a grand total of 21 learnable moves, which is pretty high for this video. It gets more dire when we compare it to the legendary Pokemon Cosmog and Cosmoem. These make switch training, experience sharing, and rare candy spamming the ways to evolve them. The first stage Cosmog starts off with Splash and Teleport, and that's all it gets. When it finally evolves at level 43, Cosmoem gains access to a third move in Cosmic Power. This at least has great synergy with its amazing defenses and ability to hold Eviolite, so we have Setup, Splash for PP stalling, and Teleport, which luckily was buffed to allow these mons to get a slow pivot in battle so they can take a hit and safely get in a teammate. We'll see a bit of a theme of Pokemon with very intentionally limited move pools that make it a grind to evolve them into their much more powerful final stage. And what better example of this do we have than Magikarp? This is a definition of, if you don't struggle, you don't improve. Famously, Magikarp only has access to Splash until level 15, when it acquires the coveted Tackle to start leveraging that dangerous attack stat. Generation 2 gave it a massive buff adding Flail, which it keeps as its ace in the hole for late game sweeps, but that's it for level up moves. It also doesn't have any egg moves, but it did have a few great event moves like Dragon Rage, Bubble, Reversal, Bounce, and Hydro Pump over the earlier generations, and bangers like Celebrate and Happy Hour introduced later. You can't fill your set with just any selection of these moves though. We'll be nice and count its Generation 8 move pool for this video, where it has a total of 7 legal moves, 3 of which have no competitive use. I've crafted the best possible set for national decks. Unfortunately, no Magikarp's Revenge. If you know, you know. I also thought I'd be including Feebas on this list, but it actually has a pretty wide move pool. This list isn't reserved for terrible Pokemon though. One of the most iconic blobs appears next with Ditto. Ditto has only ever known the move Transform, tying it for the Pokemon with the least amount of moves. It actually has more signature items than learnable moves, but it never really felt like Ditto was short on moves, since Transform can let you copy any move your opponent have. Funnily enough, since Generation 5, Ditto really only packs Transform because it has to have a move. With the ability Imposter, you are essentially just using Transform upon switching, which makes Ditto exponentially better. It is a Pokemon viable in most singles metas due to matching the power of who it's opposing, copying everything except HP stat, deterring setup sweepers with its Choice Scarf set, threatening reverse sweeps, and copying powerful moves and abilities. A surprising one for me that I found is Tynamo. This little swimmer doesn't get much, and what it does get is pretty much all electric. A quick mention for its pre-Generation 9 buffed moveset, which included Tackle, Thunder Wave, Spark, and Charge Beam being its whole moveset. Oh yeah, and the ability to learn Magnet Rise via Move Tutor, which is honestly great for an electric type with Levitate, or countering Mold Break or Drillbur, I guess. But luckily for this little guy, that grand total of 5 moves was significantly buffed in Generation 9 with additional access to TM's Terra Blast, Charge, and surprisingly Knockoff. They really do just give that move to everyone. With a grand total of 8 usable moves, Tynamo crushes on this list of smallest move pools. Beldum is another popular example of a mon with a minuscule amount of moves. Its only move in its debut gen was Takedown, which continued to be its only level up move until Generation 8 when it was swapped with a much worse Tackle. But Beldum was smart enough to learn some tutor moves starting in Generation 4. It added Headbutt and Iron Defense to its arsenal, along with Iron Head and Zed Headbutt to give it some stab options. It also received Hold Back in Generation 6 as an event move that really turned some heads, along with the aforementioned level up Tackle and the move tutor Steel Beam. This brought it up to a hefty 8 possible total moves, which was its peak in Generation 8. While it did receive access to Terra Blast in Generation 9, it isn't compatible with Hold Back, so you don't truly have 9 moves. But for the sake of the video, we'll say Beldum has 9 total moves in its arsenal. Those last few mons had a few too many moves for my liking, so I think it's time to bring out the big guns. We're talking about a staple in the ZU tier, Unown. Unown may only have 1 move, but it also can run a move of each type. Hidden Power is Unown's lone signature move that's type is dependent on the user's IVs. It was often used as coverage before it was dexited, as it is a near universal TM, but this funny little cue ball survives on it. It can opt to run Stab Hidden Power Psychic with a choice specs, or target those quad weak Ice Mons with HP Ice, HP Fighting to counter those Dark and Steel types swapping in. The possibilities can seem endless, but at the end of the day, this mon is only running 1 total move. First stage bug types are often heavily restricted with move access, best examples being the Caterpie and Weedle lines. These lines were restricted to 1 attacking move and String Shot as their only moves. When evolving, they do get access to setup with the very impressive Harden. It stayed that way until Generation 4 when major moveset upgrades arrived. I'm kinda being sarcastic, but that is kinda the truth here. They all have access to Stab Bug Bite now. Caterpie and Metapod learned Snore from tutoring, which is good anti-sleep tech. Metapod and Kakuna received Iron Defense as a move tutor, which gives you twice the hardness for the price of 1. And the last piece of the pie for these mons movesets came in Generation 5 when gaining Electro Web as a move tutor, giving them a damaging version of String Shot and some much needed coverage. All in all, Weedle comes in at 4 moves, just enough to fill a set. Caterpie has 5, so you'll have to leave 1 out. Kakuna has 6 moves, and Metapod has a grand total of 7 moves. Don't think we don't see who your favorites are, Game Freak. Burmy is an interesting bug for this, as it's the only one with access to multiple forms and access to hidden power, giving it huge moveset flexibility. I'm sure you all remember it wasting your time spamming Protect as much as it could as well, getting those double and even triple protects, add in Tackle and Bug Bite, and you have Burmy's entire level up moveset until Generation 8 when they had to go and remove Hidden Power and Burmy's in-game coverage. They replaced it with String Shot, which it could previously learn with a move tutor. Snore and Electro Web were added as tutors as well, giving Burmy a modest 7 total unique moves to choose from. Another early bug who fits this mold is Kricketot. It learns 3 moves through level up, but outshined all of those other bug mons in its debut generation, sporting 8 whole moves thanks to tutors. This rose to 9 in Generation 5 with Struggle Bug added to the mix and stayed that way. All until Generation 9 unleashed the beast. Kricketot now has access to a still modest but much better 13 moves overall. Key additions being strong Bug Stab and Lunge and Skitter Smack, along with Tackle, replacing the dexited Bide. It technically can only use 8 moves in Generation 9 formats, but in National Dex, where all of its moves are included, it has a lot more options. Splitting up the bugs to add Toxel. This is another one that I wasn't sure to include, but let's do it anyways. It at least has a pretty interesting set of moves with Belch, Tearful Look, Nuzzle, Growl, Flail, and Acid, all being learned by level up. Keep in mind this is a baby Pokemon, and have you ever seen a more fitting moveset? Some decent egg moves join in with Endeavor, Metal Sound, and Power Up Punch, bringing our 6 moves up to 9. and then a decent amount of TMs brings us up to 21 moves, which is kind of borderline for this video. Don't go anywhere because we have maybe the best bang for your buck bug bagging in Blipbug. It only learns Struggle Bug upon level up, but really hit the jackpot when it comes to egg moves. Infestation, Recover, Ignore Supersonic, and the rare Sticky Web. This is pretty much the perfect competitive set. This mon doesn't need more than the 5 moves it has: Web's Lead, Infestation Chip, Recover Spam, Struggle Bug for damage and support. It even has Compound Eyes to make Supersonic a somewhat viable option. Wurmple is like a combo of Caterpie and Weedle moveset wise. It gets absolutely spoiled with both Tackle and Poison Sting alongside String Shot. It gained Bug Bite a gen later, along with that drool-worthy Snore Tutor. It adds Electro Web to the mix as well, giving it a total of just 6 usable moves. It is a split evolution, becoming either Silcoon or Cascoon, which inherit the same shallow move pool, only adding the obligatory Harden and Iron Defense to the mix, giving these mons a total of 8 usable moves. So I didn't know if I should include this next mon, so I will add an asterisk next to its name, but Smeargle? Does that count? It only technically learns Sketch. It's just a move allows it to have virtually any other move on its permanent moveset. So it is tied for the mon who can learn the least amount of moves, as well as the mon who can know the most. There are some event Smeargles that were released with other moves, like this one distributed specifically for catching wild Pokemon, but I think including it here just kind of feels right, but a bit dirty at the same time. What do you think? I was scatterbrained and almost forgot to include some very memorable bugs. Scatterbug and its evolution Spewpa finish off the bug typing for this video. They don't have a lot of moves, but do have some decent options compared to the other butterfly pre-evolutions. Scatterbug has a classic Tackle, String Shot, Bug Bite combo, but adds great support options like Stun Spore by level up, and moves like Poison Powder and Rage Powder as egg moves. The Gen 9 TMs were good to it as well, giving it Struggle Bug, Pounce, and Terror Blast, bringing its total moveset up to 9 moves. Evolve it into Spewpa, and you now have access to Iron Defense, Harden, and Electro Web, giving it 13 whole moves to choose from. Also never realized it went from 35 base attack down to 22 after evolving, which is such a weird decision. Should I do a few more powerful mons to end the video? Why not? And Wobbuffet, of course.
What?
You were all waiting for it. The only Pokemon featured in this video to be banned to Ubers. And it is in part due to its moves. Wynaut and Wobbuffet are very specifically designed mons who are essentially punching bags waiting to take damage and return it a lot harder. Their offensive move pool only consists of Counter and Mirror Coat. This is how they do their damage. Destiny Bond is the other key part of the set to try and force a KO or cheese one out with a late Custad Berry in later gens. The initial Gen 2 level up moveset included Safeguard, with Mimic being an event move only usable in that gen. When Wynaut was introduced in Gen 3 was when things got spicy, learning Charm, the ever useful Splash, and the glue move Encore. It also added the broken trapping ability Shadow Tag, which may have helped a bit, and in combination with Encore had these mons banned to Ubers. It also received an event move Tickle in Generation 3 to give it another option. This was it until Generation 8 blessed it with a new move in Amnesia to bring up its survivability and give it a grand total of 9 moves. I'll be honest, I had no idea these mons learned Amnesia. I don't think it would ever use it, but it is pretty cool that they're still giving some buffs. But it definitely only needs the 4 core moves. It's a predictable mon with few moves, but it really is all it needs. And a perfect testimony about quality over quantity and kind of how a broken ability can just change everything. That being said, should I do a video covering the mons with the biggest move pools? Leave a like if you want to see it. And here's my bold prediction: Zach Pro is going to ask for it anyways shortly after I upload this before watching the video to this point. If he does, I will be forced to pin that comment. I'm also hosting a Frog, Toad, and Turtle only Pokemon tournament on July 20th, so if you're interested in joining that, and being a part of the stream and video, sign up in my Discord channel. Shout out to my YouTube and Patreon members, including Goldbud, Mr. Frank Beans, and Bucket Boys for their generous gifted members. I appreciate everyone's support. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to check this one out next. Thanks for watching, buds.